Live again tonight. And tonight's program, of course, is This Day in Black Baseball History with commentary by Phil S. Dixon. And we're looking at September 9th, 2025. And coming to you from I guess, the baseball universe. We'll call Kansas City the baseball universe, home of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, which I co-founded back in 1990. So lots of good information. And once again, I go by Phil, P-H-I-L-S Dixon, like President Nixon, but with the D. And I've been doing baseball history for over 45 years, specializing in the Negro Leagues. Now, before then, I was a pretty sharp kid coming along following all the history of Major League Baseball and all of those people in the National and the American League. So anyway, that's where we are, and this is where we are tonight. So I'm going to jump right in, and if you join us later on, if you like what we're doing here, feel free to subscribe and share, like, nothing else, go out and like. I think sometime if you pick this up, say if I share it on say X or the old Twitter, it doesn't allow you to actually like and make a comment there. You actually have to go out and come back in and subscribe to Phil S. Dixon. So anyway, Phil S. Dixon, and we'll go from there. So let's jump in. Before I do that tonight, I did want to pull something out here. I always try to pull something out unique from the past. And I have this here. This is a sheet. Of course, you couldn't see it very well, but also I'll describe it. And this is something I did actually December 2nd of 2022 is the date I have here. And I was interviewing Clifford Connie Johnson. Of course, he played for the Kansas City Monarchs. He played for the Toledo Crawfords. He went on to play with the Baltimore Orioles. That's where he finished up. But prior to that, he was with the Chicago White Sox. So I interviewed Connie. And I have some questions, and I wanted to know, based on 3 managers that he played for in the Negro Leagues, and I gave a scale of 1 to 10. And here's what the categories I used: strategy, use of personnel, relationship with players, discipline, delegation of authority, and also winning. And so anyway, I had him rate John Buck O'Neill, who was his manager with the Kansas City Monarchs as late as 1949. And then I had him rate Frank Duncan, who was his manager before O'Neill. And then, of course, Oscar Charleston, who was his first professional manager in the Negro Leagues with the Toledo Crawfords. So here we go. So as far as strategy, okay, now remember 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. As far as strategy, he gave Buck O'Neill a 10, Frank Duncan 7, and Oscar Charleston an 8. So he thought that Duncan was the least strategic of all of these managers. As far as use of personnel, that means using everyone on the roster to their fullest ability. He gave Buck O'Neill a 10. He gave Frank Duncan an 8 and Oscar Charleston an 8. As far as relationship with players, he gave Buck O'Neill a 10 again. He gave Frank Duncan an 8, and he gave Oscar Charleston a 9. So he thought that Oscar Charleston had a better relationship with his players than Duncan did. As far as discipline, he gave Buck O'Neill a 10 again. He gave Frank Duncan a 9 and Oscar Charleston a 9. As far as delegation of authority, that's being a leader on the team, he gave Buck O'Neill a 10, Frank Duncan an 8, and Oscar Charleston a 10. And of course, as for when it came down to winning, he gave Buck O'Neill a 10, Frank Duncan a 10, and he gave Oscar Charleston a 7. So it looks like out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories, Buck O'Neill received a 10 from Connie Johnson on all of them. The other player, Frank Duncan, out of all of those categories. He got just 110, and that was in winning. And then Oscar Charleston received just 110, and that was a delegation of authority. So I thought you'd find that interesting. And I used to do surveys like this. And, you know, interesting thing, I would just grab whatever paper I could and just go out and ask players questions like this. And I've done this with other players through the years. And that kind of information is serving me well now because, hey, these are questions nobody was asking. And I found it quite fascinating. So we're going to jump in right now. And I'm going to give you just a couple of things that happened on this date. And I see a couple of people coming in. I see someone says, Karen Lopez, thanks for coming in there, Karen. And then someone else saying, how's your day? Trying to figure out who these people are. They just have a heart there. So I'm not sure who they are. But that's okay. My day is going great. And hopefully yours is well. So here we go. September 9th. 1934, 20,000 fans pour into Yankee Stadium to watch a four-team doubleheader. The American Giants defeated the New York Black Yankees 4-3 in the opener, and the Pittsburgh Crawfords tied 1-1 with the Philadelphia Stars in the nightcap. And I have here Satchel, Paige struck out. How many people he struck out? Struck out 12 in the nightcap. So anyway, hey, a lot of people don't realize how many games that African Americans played in these major league ballparks. So they weren't just playing in, you know, a lot of towns who didn't have the big league stadium. They actually played in these major league stadiums. One of the things, if you get my book, and I don't have a copy of it here right now, but the 1910 Chicago Leland Giants, most people, when you read that book, I let people know that the first African American pitcher to ever pitch in Comiskey Park, where they had the annual East-West game, was in 1910, and the first pitcher to ever pitch there was Frank Wickware. And so that's kind of history I like to tell. And so on this particular day, you've got 4 teams and 20,000 fans. And you know, when I was first starting, thanks for stopping in, Karen. But anyway, when I was first starting to do this history, the older frame was saying, oh yeah, those players were so good. Too bad nobody got a chance to see them. And I'm looking at here, you got 20,000 people. This is just one game. This happened all the time. And many people did get a chance to see them. And actually, I took that statement I took it personal. Because many black people went to these games, African American citizens, kids, families, and in the eyes of the people who were in the National and American League and all over the country, they were nobody. But I knew my grandfather who went to games was somebody. People in my neighborhood who went to those games, who had influence on me, were somebody. And so I was able to come out and begin to change that narrative to say, these were somebody. These were somebody. These were your relatives, my relatives. And then guess what? It wasn't just black people that were going to see them, white people were going to see them too. So, you know, they just lumped everybody into nobody. Too bad nobody got a chance to see them. Sometimes when you hear things, man, you've got to listen to the words carefully because they're loaded with all kinds of misinformation. And so as a young kid, I began to break down those barriers and begin to tell the true history of America, the true history of American baseball, which was never being told when I was coming along. So we're getting a better narrative of it now, but there's still so much work and so many things that are not being said that should. And I'm going to say some of those things here from time to time. And of course, tonight I'm talking about the nobody got a chance to see him and who the quote nobody was. And that would have been me. Had I been going to the games in the 30s, 40s, 50s, the 20s, the 19-teens. And I certainly believe I'm somebody. And I believe if you went to the games, you were somebody too. All right. So let's go to another one. Let's see. September 4th, 1944. It says, blasting 3 pitchers in a 20-hit attack, the New York Black Yankees defeated the Kingston, New York recreation team 14-5 before 1,200 fans at the local municipal stadium. Zack Clayton paced the Yankees with 4 hits, the Black Yankees. Hey, we grew up hearing about the Yankees, the New York Yankees. We didn't know anything about the Black Yankees. Well, who were the Black Yankees? Well, I ended up meeting and speaking and interviewing several guys who played for them. One of them actually lived right in Kansas, not too far from me. His name was George Giles, and he really clued me in on who the Black Yankees were. And he actually served as a manager for them a little bit, replaced Ben Taylor. And he told me about what his strategies and what he brought new to the New York Black Yankees. And of course, he ended up coming back to Kansas and retiring. And I met him in 1982. And we kept a correspondence to the day he died, probably 15 years later. So got some great letters from George Giles in my collection. So one of these days, I'm gonna come on and read a few more letters. So anyway, I'm looking at this, and then I did put a note down here. Zack Clayton paced the Yankees with 4 hits. Okay, Zack Clayton. Zack Clayton is somebody that you might want to know about. Zack Clayton, not only was he a professional baseball player, but how about this? He was also a basketball player. And if that's not enough for you, how about this? He was a boxing referee. I don't know if you remember Muhammad Ali's Rumble in the Jungle, that whole fight. Who was that? That was Foreman, with George Foreman. Who do you think refereed that fight? Zack Clayton did. Zack Clayton is I think he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. And he also played basketball for the Harlem Globetrotters, played for the New York Black Yankees. One of those multi-sport athletes that we don't hear much about. And because he was referee in a boxing match, I get the feeling that he might have boxed somewhere along the way because he knew a lot about the squared circle. So, okay, and probably I need to go back and do a little more work on Zack Clayton. But yeah, Zack Clayton was born in 1913 and he passed away in 1997. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to interview Zack, but I wish I had. I did interview some people who played with him over the years. So anyway, Zack Clayton, I thought that would be interesting. And then how about this one? Let's go September 9th, 1973. This is the last one I'll do for tonight. Willie Howard Mays played his last Major League regular season game as a member of the New York Mets in a 3-0 win over Montreal's National League Expos in Montreal. Interesting thing about Willie Mays, played his last game, regular season game, in Canada. The interesting thing is when he first came in, of course, there was no Canadian team in the National League or the American League. But when he retires, baseball's changed quite a bit. And to be honest with you, Willie Mays had a lot to do with those changes. This guy was the premier everything. Could catch, could throw, could hit with power, could run. There's not much more left for a baseball player to do. And if you know about baseball and you don't know about Willie Mays, you really don't know about baseball as far as I'm concerned. I'll tell you an interesting story. And I was a kid. I was around Kansas City. And of course, I was following the A's and following the Royals when they came along in '69. But I started off with the A's. And so I knew all those ball players, who were on the roster. And those were kind of like my heroes. So even in 1969, when the Royals started, I would go down to the stadium by myself and hang around and meet the ball players after the game. So I knew that entire '69 team from the catcher. Oh man, I knew everybody. Used to see Pat Kelly all the time. And who else I see? Bob Oliver, saw him all the time. And so anyway, those were my stars. And I collected baseball cards, and I used to hear people talk about Willie Mays. But he's a National Leaguer. I'm an American League guy. I didn't know much about the National League, but I heard people talking about Willie Mays. And one day I was watching the game of the week. I remember I forget what age I was. I was watching the game of the week, and the Giants were playing. A lot of times they would have the same people on all the time. Man, the Yankees, I got so tired of seeing the Yankees on the game of the week. But anyway, the Giants were playing on the game of the week, playing out in Candlestick Park. And somebody, whoever they were playing, they hit a ball out to the outfield. And Willie Mays and Bobby Bonds went after the ball. Nobody called the other one off, and they collided. And Willie Mays was knocked out. And with him laying on the ground, they reached in his glove, and he still had the ball in his glove, knocked out, still with the glove in his ball. And from that point on, I said, man, that guy must be a great baseball player. And I became a Willie Mays fan, and I was a Willie Mays fan to the day he passed away. Interesting thing, Willie Mays passed away, and when they had the Negro League tribute game in Birmingham between the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, San Francisco Giants, and I was at that game. I was down in Birmingham when he passed away, and I was able to give some comments on local TV, that kind of thing. And I think I might have even told this story, the one I just told you. But I was able to do that. And it was an honor to be there because Willie Mays had helped me to follow the game. And what's interesting, I didn't ever meet Willie Mays in person. Now, the Christmas before he passed away, the Christmas before, I went to a store, and some guy had 2 autographed baseballs signed by Willie Mays. And he gave me a price, and I said, well, let me think about it. So I come back about 2 weeks later, he increased the price, and because he could see I really wanted these balls. And I'm thinking, okay, Willie Mays, I'm thinking he was 90 years old. I said, man, I need to get these balls. So I actually paid his inflated price. I gave one to one of my sons. I gave one to one of my nephews for Christmas. And then, of course, Willie Mays passed away that year, and now that is a prized possession in their collection. So anyway, that about does it for tonight. I didn't get on till late. Believe it or not, I was at a high school volleyball game watching the young people. I like supporting the young people in their athletic endeavors because I was that age at once upon a time, and people supported me. So I'm happy to do that. So anyway, that does it for me tonight. I will be back hopefully tomorrow a little bit earlier. And if you like this, you know what I'm doing is it's this day in Black baseball history. Of course, today is September 9th, 2025. So I'm giving feats and achievements that happened on September 9th throughout the ages. And so if you like this kind of thing, come back and join me, and we'll continue to keep it going. Like and share, do whatever you do that makes you come back and be able to follow. But we're going to get better and better. I'm probably in my 2nd month of actually doing these lives, and people are just amazed at the commentary that I'm doing. But like tonight, even doing Connie Johnson, doing these comparisons, that stuff, you're not going to get that anywhere else because people didn't do that kind of work. And that's the kind of thing I was doing. And so anyway, guys, that's it for me tonight. So thank you for joining in, and feel free to come back again, and we'll do it again, and we'll have more fun. And if you ever have questions, send me some questions, and I'll see if I can answer those questions as well. So, all right. So I hope to see some of you guys when I get out on tour. I'm out there all the time and doing book signings, and I do have a number of publications. You can look up my name, Phil S. Dixon, and you'll see those. All right. So thank you guys. Have a nice evening, and we will get together soon. Thank you.